Hey you guys, so today we are here with the second part of the series of my tarot and oracle deck collection. This is definitely not the second video, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, but it is the second part. The first part of the series was my tarot collection, and now we're going to go through my oracle deck collection. If you like this video, please hit the like button and hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Also, if you want to check out my Etsy shop, I do have personal tarot readings that you can purchase along with clothing and crystal jewelry. Also, if you would like to help with my projects and helping me put out my content, I do have a GoFundMe down in the description below if you want to donate. Alright, let's off to the oracle decks. So originally my collection started off with oracle decks and then I moved into tarot, so I actually have more oracle decks, I believe, than tarot decks. But it's actually pretty 50-50. So I do have them all here. None of them are in a specific order, but I will tell you a little bit about each one of them and my personal experience with them. And yeah, if you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll try to get to your questions. Also, if you have any decks you would like me to unbox or review, please let me know in the comments as well. Alright, so I'm actually going to start with the first oracle deck I ever got, and this oracle deck has a special place in my heart. I actually don't really use this oracle deck anymore, but I would like to start using it again just because it's a beautiful deck. This deck is by Tony Carmine Salerno, and it's called the Universal Wisdom Oracle. Unlike the tarot cards, I'm going to probably show you the books because oracle deck books do have a little bit more to do with the cards than tarot card books do, just because tarot is a system and the books really do have an integral part of the decks themselves. So this is the cards, and this is a beautiful deck. It's very gentle. If you're looking to start working with cards, I would definitely recommend this deck, or really any Tony Carmine Salerno decks. They're really lovely, very gentle, and they're just really beautiful. I realize that I have not looked through this deck in ages, and wow, I need to be working with this deck again. I feel that. But anyway, this is a really, really lovely deck. And if you like Tony Carmine Salerno decks, this is, you know, as good as a lot of his... Oh, that's lovely. Wow, I really haven't looked at this in, like, years. I really love going through my decks. It's really magical. So yeah, so this is my first oracle deck. The cardstock is lovely. Of course, it's Blue Angel cardstock, so... you know, no surprise there. The cardstock for the Blue Angel decks is getting a little more flimsy, but this is from several years ago, so it's definitely a beautifully created deck. This is the book that goes along with it. It's a little over 100 pages, and you can see this is about as much information as you get on each card. So even though it's a smaller deck and a smaller book, you still do get a lot of information on each card. Alright, the next deck is the Heart of Fairy Oracle, and I actually don't have the book with me here, but it is a large book, and I actually found that the book did not match up with the cards for me. Now, a lot of people love the book, so I'm not going to say that it's not a good book. I just personally didn't find it to be, like, I would have intuition from the cards, and then I would read the book, and it wouldn't line up for me. So I actually decided to stop using the book and just using the cards themselves. This is by Brian Froud, and he actually works with Fae energy, and he and his wife say they see fairies, and so these are actually his drawings based on those experiences. There is another oracle deck that he has done, and it's, I forget what it's called, but I believe this was his second deck that he did. I don't use this deck very much. I do find it hard to read because Fae energy in itself can be very hard to read. Personally, when I'm connecting to Fae energy, I usually just connect to it personally because I do have strong connections to the Fae. So I actually find that these cards kind of get in the way of that. But occasionally I will be drawn to use it just because I really love the art, and it's really lovely. The book that comes with this is quite large. And it is beautifully written and drawn. Like I said, I don't personally use it when it comes to my personal work. The next deck is the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, and I really love this deck, and this is one of those decks that kind of comes into my space now and again. I'll use it a lot, and then I won't use it for a while, and then I'll use it a lot again. The book for this is really lovely, and actually let me show you that first. The book is pretty thorough with its explanations. However, I don't really use the book. I really like to work with this deck intuitively, just with the keywords. The cardstock for this is lovely. This deck has been beautifully, beautifully made. This is a US Game Systems deck. So this deck is based off of vintage photographs, and it's absolutely stunning. And I would recommend it. I think it's a really good deck for intuitive reading. Like I said, that's usually how I read it. But I did give this to one of my dear friends in Australia, and she said she absolutely loved it as well. I don't know if she uses the book either, but she said this was just an amazing deck. So I know a lot of people who really use this. I like to pull a couple cards from this when I'm just needing some keywords and some beautiful art in front of me. So I do love this, and I love this time period and this style of card. So this is a very different deck from a lot of my other decks, so I really do appreciate it for its unique look. The next deck is the Mother Mary Oracle by Alana Fairchild, and this deck was a very interesting deck because after leaving Christianity, I had a really hard time with anything that was even mildly related to the Christian faith. But I heard from another one of my friends who also left the faith that this deck was a very healing energy, and it actually helped them kind of integrate the religion back into a more healed space in their mind, because this deck is not really religious. It's more about the archetype of the Mother Mary as the Divine Mother, and it's a really, really lovely deck. Now, I use a ton of Alana Fairchild decks, and some of her decks are my favorites. I have not used this one as much. Oh god, that is so beautiful. I have not used this one as much as the other decks, but when I have used it, it has been very, very nurturing, and I'm not gonna lie, the artwork for this deck is one of my favorites. It's just stunning, and to be honest, if I just was gonna look at it for the art, that would be good enough. So this is really, really beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful to look at. The book itself, like most Alana Fairchild books, is ridiculously big, which is awesome. Anyone who liked Alana Fairchild decks, you know, that's what we get the books for. This almost has 200 pages. It's at 184, and each card has, you know, wow, like that one has 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 pages of information. So this deck is extremely thorough when it comes to the book. So if you're really looking for a meaty Divine Mother sort of oracle deck, something very nurturing, something very healing, I definitely recommend this deck. Even though I don't use a lot, when I do, it is a beautiful energy to work with. This next deck is a little different from the rest of my other oracle decks. This is called the Spirit of the Wheel. I will say it's not my favorite that the name of the deck is on the cards. That kind of like throws the artistic aspect for me. But this deck is ridiculously unique, and I really do love this deck. So each card is connected to a different part of the Wheel of the Year, and there is actually a mat, I'll show you in a second, where you can actually see how all the cards are on the Wheel of the Year. And so each card represents a different aspect of that. So that's really where the meanings do come from the for the cards. The art is really beautiful. Again, I'm not 100% in love with how big the borders are. I kind of wish they'd been designed a little differently, but the actual pictures themselves are really, really beautiful. And this deck has a really lovely energy to it. If you are interested in Native American energy and that really earthy energy, I really recommend this deck because the book is really, really beautiful, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, when I say the book is really beautiful, I don't literally mean the book. It is just a little white book, but the meanings for the cards are so thorough and so on point that really, even though this is a little white book, oh, this is actually the Wheel of the Year here, and so it has this poster that comes along with it. You can kind of see there's this like poster that you can line up all the cards on, but this book is so thorough and so well put together that even though it's a little white book, it really is enough for this deck. And so I would highly recommend this if you really are stepping into that Wheel of the Year and honoring this, you know, the cycles of yourself and your life. I think this is a really amazing deck for that. This next deck is the Animal Dreaming Oracle cards, and this deck is all about the animal spirits and the spirit guides that are not spirit guides, animal spirit guides, yeah, from Australia. And I actually purchased this deck way before I even knew I was going to Australia, and I was just kind of drawn to it. But the meanings didn't really make sense to me when I first started using it, and it wasn't until actually I got back from Australia and I started using this deck again that I understood the meanings. Like, even though I didn't work with like a ton of animals while I was there, for some reason it just made more sense to me. And I really appreciate this deck so much more now that I'm back. There are 4 different elements, and you can see that around the edges here for the different types of animals. And this is just a really beautiful deck. Like, this really does feel Australian to me, and it's just, I just love this deck. It's one of my favorite animal totem cards, decks. The cardstock is pretty good, and it is a really lovely made deck. The book is pretty thick. It's got, you know, over 120 pages. And so you can see each card has a pretty good amount of information. And it's a very unique animal totem book. I feel like it is very much connected to Australia. And so it really has a unique flavor to it. So if you're looking for like a traditional animal like totem oracle deck, I don't know if this would be as relevant to you, because maybe if you're in America or not in Australia, you may not connect with these animals as much. But I know personally, since being in Australia, these animals are so much more dear to my heart, and so I really like connecting in with those energies even more than I did before. Alright, so the next deck is the Journey of Love Oracle by Alana Fairchild. And this deck, even though I do believe it is printed by Blue Angel, is actually a different size than Alana's other decks. This is another one of her decks I haven't connected to as much, but it is a beautiful deck. I know some people who really do not like this deck, and then other people who just adore this deck. I haven't connected to it as much recently. One of the things I don't like about the deck is, even though I like the art individually, like for instance, these 2 cards together don't really match up for me. Like, I feel like there isn't a lot of like, there's like a ton of cards that look like this, and then there's like a handful that like are just completely different art, and that kind of like, yeah, like this kind of throws the deck for me. Now, if all the deck was like this, or all the deck was like this, I would totally get on board with it, but I just feel like in like a spread or something, it doesn't feel as normal to me, or, you know, as cohesive. But the cards themselves individually are quite lovely. And I really do like this like cosmic kind of look to it. So it is pretty unique in that sense. There's the cover. I will say though, the book, as much as it's a beautiful book, it is a little light for me. I don't find that personally, like when it comes to soul growth, it's not as hard hitting as say the other Alana Fairchild decks. This is a lot more gentle deck. So I would say that if you're looking for more of like an oracle deck that you want that is gentle, or you're just starting off with oracle decks, then this might be a better card card choice for you. But when it comes to Alana Fairchild decks, I really do prefer the hard-hitting ones. She does some amazing decks when it comes to real serious soul growth, and I just don't find this one really measures up in that way. This has over 150 pages, so it is still a pretty thorough book, and it's got some of this poetry in here, but it's just not quite like the normal Alana Fairchild decks that I really enjoy, but it's definitely a beautiful deck in its own right.